Hello peoples! Today is the big solar day. I've already done one panel on the roof so that I could figure out logistics. That first one takes a couple of hours. This next one should go up right away. I'll make note right now that I'm using 3M brand VHB tape. I think it's 4950. It's the same kind that AM solar sells in strips, and let me show you the back of the solar panel. So I already have it prepared. I have basically they're 1 inch wide. I think that's about 3 inches. I cut the paper on one side so that I can put it up on the roof and then peel it off at the last moment. So these cables need to be taped up. These brackets need to be bent because they're too straight. They need to be bent upward so that they follow the curve of the roof. So I'm going to go ahead and take this panel over and we'll get it set up and get the thing started. HOBOTECH. Alright, here we go up the ladder, my favorite part. So now you can see, I already got the one installed. You see how I traced it out. I made a center line from the middle of the vent to the middle of the marker in the back, the reflector on the roof. Gave me a good center line. And then I just figured out how far back I wanted the panels now. They're back this far because the shadow cast by the vent would actually, if the panels were any closer, the shadow would block the light or block the panel and then cause some shade on it and lose power. So I put them back as far as I could. I also put them back far enough so that hopefully not to affect the gas mileage too bad, because it is going to be I have a tether on the camera today just in case I drop it. Try not to affect the miles per gallon too much, because that's an important reason why you drive a Class B, is to get the good gas mileage, and having these big solar panels on the roof certainly doesn't help. But if you place them back as far as you can, it won't cause as much turbulence off the back of the vehicle. If I put them forward, it actually would cause turbulence on the roof. So what I tried to do is put them back as far as I could. Got some kids playing around here. So we're going to go ahead and complete the install here in a moment. So this will give you an idea of how far I put the panels back. You can just see them right on the corner of the roof there, so it's not too bad. So it should actually not affect the gas mileage any way, shape, or form that you could actually tell. I mean, maybe over 10,000 miles, be a couple of bucks. Kids. In order to get the panels to follow the curve of the roof, I have to bend these out. So basically just using a simple crescent wrench right in the middle, and I tighten it down. And I just try to do this with one hand. It's not really going to work, but to bend it out like this until there's you'll see a gap forming like that. That's about as much as I needed for this particular vehicle. So just to give you an idea of how much I had to bend it. Now, the thing you got to worry about is the damage to the VHB tape. Because when you go to peel this off, that's going to be I actually had a real hell of a time. I had 2 big marks in there, and I probably could have put a piece of cloth or something there to prevent that, but really what I'm trying to do is just get a good bend in it, and just far enough so that you can get a gap. A little bit more than that. Actually, a little more is better than a little less, because as soon as you put some pressure down on it, they will flatten a little bit. So I just need to do that on all 4 sides. And I can't flip the panel over with one hand, so I'm not going to record this part. The first real step here is just you can use rubbing alcohol, you can use whatever. This is ethyl alcohol, so it's pretty nasty smelling. but it'll do the job. What you want to do is just clean your roof. I use Lysol, all-purpose, to clean the roof first, and then I use this to kind of get the last of the gunk off. And you will see, if you use a white rag, it will be gunky. I'm going to try not to get too close to that other tape that I already did. See, yellow. I don't know if you can tell. It's yellow. Basically, it takes some of the oxidation off the roof. And it should guarantee that this tape sticks for a very, very long time. Now, on top of the VHB, I'm going to put a Turnabond RV roofing tape. But I'm going to do that after 24 hours to give the VHB a chance to cure. So really, it's going to be, this side is going to be so much easier than the first side because I already have everything lined up. I can just literally look at the lines and know if I'm on or not. I don't have to do any measuring, nothing like that. And if you're wondering why I put the cables on the far side instead of the near side, it's because I'm going to run them up the middle. And basically, I have tons of cable. I think they give you like 25 feet. That's going to be like more than enough. Kind of run them out here and then down the middle, and use that that Turnabond, and then I'm just going to run it right into the air conditioner vent, right down the middle, because you know I have that symmetry issue I was talking about. Slightly overboard with bending these aluminum pieces. They're a little overbent, so I'm just going to make an effort to just bend them back just a little bit. It needs to be as flat as possible. I don't want to overboard on them. There we go. That looks great. Yeah, so basically I just push it up until I get to the other brackets. Make sure that it's straight. What I'm going to do is just trace around this, just so I know where to put the brackets down. And no, this is not a Sharpie. This is one of those. It's one of those water. Basically, you wipe it right off. First couple of rains, this will wash right off. This actually is a great marker for doing all the marking on stuff, because you know they can just wipe right off, and then when you're done, you don't have to freak out that it's okay. So I think all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for it. And just cross my fingers that I get this right, because there's no redoing it. There's one thing I noticed different about Arizona than California. People barbecue every day. Man, I'm out here, I get hungry. Every day I smell barbecue. It just makes me hungry for it. Can't wait to get my grill and start making some burgers. Take the tape off. This is no return. See, the problem I was talking about, that crescent wrench really effed up the... Okay, that came off in one piece. And that came off. Okay, so what I do is I leave the outside ones on for now. I hope you can see this. Man, I hope that is straight. Yeah, it looks like it. Right there should be perfect. Yeah, that's going to be about as close as I get. Yeah, see, it's already stuck down a little, and then I just take the tape off the outside. to get it off in one piece without touching it. Do not touch it with your fingers or anything else. Oh, fuck. You know, this is what I didn't want. Every little bit counts. There's a total of 12 square inches of tape holding this down to the roof, so. Good, that came off in one piece. It looks like we're still lined up straight. Yeah, about as straight as it's ever going to be. Yeah, not on the marker, just right behind it. And there we go. All I have to do is put some pressure on it, which that's the fun part. And hopefully the ladder doesn't. And yeah, that's the fiberglass roof cracking. It's okay. It's not going to go anywhere. Now you know why I put the tether on the camera. This shit, I'm telling you, once it's on, these panels aren't going anywhere. I'm still going to put that Eternabond. Ooh, the ladder moved. Well, you know what? If it gave out, I can probably hang on to the solar panel. Okay. Ooh, that one really wasn't down at all. Now it is. Yep, pretty much perfect. Yeah, you know what those suckers aren't going anywhere. Whoa. Okay, I'm getting off the ladder now. And there we have it. Solar panels installed. All you do now is run the cable, put the solar charger in, the switch for the solar charger, and run the MT50 module up front. Which, I know it sounds like a lot of stuff, but I can kind of get to that over the next couple of days. Really, it was getting these on and just making sure that this shit's flat, because it doesn't look flat. The deal was just to get the panels on while it wasn't windy. Basically today and tomorrow are going to be days to allow the tape to cure, and then Wednesday it's going to be like 40-mile-an-hour gusts again. So that'll at least be a test. I'm going to double check. A couple of these corners don't look like they're all the way down, though. I'm going to push some pressure on it again just to make sure. And then I'm just going to go for that rear vent. Basically, run the cables down that. So I'm going to have to take that off or something. Okay, solar install part 2, getting the cabling done. I was not going to show you the arduous task of trying to fish my my trusty wire thingy. You just take a coat hanger and put a hook on the end. And can you see the hole? Yeah, you can see the hole. That hole that hole's for the air conditioner plug, which is right there. That's the easiest way to get outside from these cabinets. And so I was like, okay, I just put my coat hanger through with the hook. It ran it back here. So basically what we're gonna do is just gonna pull these over like this, kind of do like that, and put a piece of white Eternabond or something on that, just so it doesn't look ghetto. But right next to the light, and then down the center. It'll go all the way down the panels to the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I got my Now, let me show you before we go up there. I am not running these in series. Why, you're gonna ask? Well, because when you run panels in series, all you have to do is shade one corner of one panel, and you have no solar. Your solar basically dies. If you don't believe me, watch the tests that Gone with the Winds did with their solar, where they literally just like covered up a little tiny corner of one of the solar panels, killed the entire array. Now, if you put it in parallel, you'll lose that solar panel, but the other solar panel will continue to work. So at least you get something. So if you're parked, say if you're parked somewhere where there's some trees, and leaves and blowing, you know, to where you might get a little bit of intermittent shading on your panels. Well, that's way better if you're in parallel than if you're in series. If you're in series, you're shot. You basically have no solar for the day. So what I did, and these are really cheap, is I got, let me put these in the light, and I think they're Renogy brand. I got these parallel things here. Basically, they're parallel connectors, so it allows you to plug two solar panels into one wire. And then this is a 20 amp fuse, inline fuse, which you put on the positive side. And basically what that does is, you know, if for whatever reason your wire shorts out, the fuse will blow. And I'm going to put a fuse also on the output of the solar charger that goes to the battery bank. So that way if there's a short there, see, you should always put fuses or circuit breakers on the positive line of anything that goes to your batteries. And actually my batteries themselves have big 300 amp fuses on them, in case you're in a rocking and rolling house, right? These cables could come loose at any time, and if one of those 300 amp battery cables touches metal, it could set your whole place on fire. I also just like to have fuses and circuit breakers on everything because, first of all, if something fails, you'll know what failed. You'll be able to easily trace it because you'll say, oh, this one thing stopped working. If you don't have a circuit breaker or a fuse and something goes wrong, you're not going to have any idea because it's going to, you know, several things might fry. So I just think it's better just to fuse everything. Yeah, it costs more, and yeah, it's actually can be a lot of hassle. Now this was nothing. It just snapped right in. 2 seconds it snaps in, and you got an inline fuse. I should have gotten a 30 amp instead of a 20 amp because now that I think about it, if I ever add a third panel, I'm gonna have to get up there and unhook this and try to put a new fuse in. But whatever. I'm probably just gonna do the 2 panels and be happy. And I kind of like how, you know, I know most people who put solar panels on these vans, they do them lengthwise. I mean, they do them widthwise, so they lay perfectly flat on the roof. Now, I didn't want to do that. I actually wanted them to be tilted a little bit. You know, I'll show you what I mean. You see how they're tilted a little left and right? Like that one's a few degrees that way, like probably 5 degrees, and this one's 5 degrees that way. Well, what that does, if I park, and here's the plan, if I park the rear of the van towards the south, what you do is you minimize the van's exposure to the sun because you're lowering your surface area that the sun can contact, right? And so all I'd have to do is block that window with that aluminized, or I think it's aluminum, that aluminized plastic bubble wrap stuff. I forget what it's called. I'm going to review some later. All I do is cut a big piece and put it in that window. And if I'm facing the south, this is going to get the sun all day long, right? So the rest of the van should be nice and cool. Now, yeah, the downside is that the air conditioner would be getting hot from the sun beating on it all day, but it's shaded too because those little slots in the back actually shade the air conditioner. So, and there's space between the roof, like several inches between the fiberglass roof and the air conditioner. So realistically, the air conditioner should run just fine even if the sun's beating on it from the back. So what I'm going to do, what I plan to do is, anytime I can, park the van with the sun facing the south. Or park the van with the rear end facing the south. So that as the day goes on, the sun, see, pretend that's south. It's actually west. Well, pretend that's south. Basically what happens is the sun would come up in the east on this side, because you're assuming that's north, not south. This is going to be east, that's going to be west. So the sun's going to come up on this side, and it's going to go across the sky like that, in a sort of like a curve, in an arc, right? So what that means is that the sun is going to be beating on this side of the van all day long. And then on the north side of the van, which has all that glass, all the portal glass in the roof, the front windshield, the side windows, that extra hood, which of course reflects sunlight because it's white, all that would be in the shade all day long. So it actually would keep that whole front of the van way cooler than if the sun was beating on it. And here's the thing, that air conditioner isn't very powerful. So for it to get cool up there, it needs to be, there needs to be no sun coming in. So basically that's how I've had this whole thing figured out. So that's why I put the solar panels in the back. I don't have one on the front, in front of the vents. I also didn't want to screw up with the aerodynamics. If I put anything up front where that smooth curve is, that's just going to ruin the aerodynamics of the vehicle. So I put the panels as far back as I could. I also put them lengthwise for aerodynamics because you don't have the ripples of the spaces and stuff between the panels causing turbulence. You have a nice smooth surface, and they're actually pretty low to the roof, so I would actually be surprised if they would be in a wind stream at all, because the wind's going to come ripping up over the top, and it's going to hit that vent. If anything, that vent causes a lot of turbulence. And so I don't think the solar panels are really going to make any effect at all on wind resistance. And it does very, very, very little, negligible amount. For my lead foot driving, I wouldn't notice the difference in miles per gallon. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why I put the panels lengthwise, so that one's tilted like about 5, I don't have to measure it, maybe it's 10 degrees. 5 to 10 degrees to the right, 5 to 10 degrees to the left. So as the sun comes up on the east, this panel on this side is going to be facing the sun a little bit more. Now yeah, the one on the west side is going to be not facing the sun as much. But it also means I'm going to be grabbing some more of the early sunlight on that side. So that panel will get full power earlier, and I have an MPPT controller which takes advantage of sunrise and sunset amounts of sun, where it's like really far off in the horizon, where you're getting a very low voltage. That a normal PWM controller would just throw that voltage away. Like it couldn't use, like, say 6 volts to charge your 12 volt batteries. The MPPT controller could take that sunrise and sunset power, bump it from 6 volts to 14 volts or 16 volts or whatever it's going to pump out for your battery. But MPPT can actually raise it from a low volts to a high volts, and instead of throwing that power away, it actually would be soaking it into your batteries. So I'll actually be able to get sunrise and sunset power where most people can't that have flat panels and use PWM controllers. So that's my whole reasoning for why I put the panels the way I did, why I paid the extra money for the top of the line Renogy MPPT controller, which is the Commander, and once I hook that up I'll show you more about that. It's also why I spent them and got the MT50 monitor for it. I also got the USB cable so I can plug in my laptop and do some monitoring diagnostics on the solar system, because I'm going to have to tweak it for my batteries. So anyway, this got very long-winded, but I wanted to explain, while it was on my mind, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why I'm hooking it up this way, why I'm putting the panels in parallel. And so the next part's going to be just to plug the cables in on the roof, and then the fun part of tearing this wall out so that I can run these cables down it, because basically what I'm going to have to do is drill a hole in the corner there, run the cables over to that corner, run the cables down behind the wall, down to where the fender is, and then over the battery compartment over to here where the MPPT controller is going to be. You see it sitting in there right now, just in there to remind me where it's going to go. I also got an on-off switch, because you should always install an on-off switch for your solar, because there's going to be times where you don't want any power in your rig. You're going to want to shut off all the batteries and all the power to park it or store it or whatever, This will allow you to do that because without the switch, the solar would be on all the time. And the only time it's going to power off is at night. So you'd have daytime, your lights come on. At nighttime, they go out. You know, and trust me, this was like $10. It was, I don't think it was even $10. It was like $6 or something. This actually looks like a pretty nice switch. It's a Ninth City car, van, truck door, kill on-off switch. 300 amps. Made in China, of course. So anyway, I put that down there to remind me to put that in line. I also have to grab that inline fuse and put it in there and remind me of that too. So let's get these cables hooked up. Actually, it does say, I think it does say I shouldn't hook up the cables until I'm ready to hook up the controller, but dang, now I think about that, maybe I shouldn't hook up the cables. Alright, so that's it for part 1 of the solar install. Hey, thank you for watching our video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe, share, and like. And we'll see you guys next time. Say hi, Ernie.